We are here with the one and only Lucky Bastard from FTW, Fine Tattoo Work in the city of Orange. Thank you, Lucky Bastard, for sitting down with Beaverduck and I. First question I got, okay? Educate me, and I don't want to butcher it, but Horiko?
Horiko.
Horiko.
Yeah, that was, it's my Japanese tattoo name. It was given to me by Horiyoshi III.
Take us back though, like tell me how you get a Hori name.
Normally when you get your Hori name, it's from your master, like whoever kind of mentored and taught you Japanese tattoo, but I don't really have that. I had many mentors, but I was getting tattooed by Horiyoshi. In Horiyoshi's studio, there's a bunch of portfolios from like Bob Roberts in the 70s and Ed Hardy in the 70s and Tim Lehigh, like all these guys, all these great tattooers that always send him these portfolios. And so I was getting tattooed, so I would bring a portfolio, and normally Horiyoshi would just look through it real quick and then smile and say, "Oh, old school, Bob Roberts, very nice," and just hand it back to me. And so after a while, I started doing more Japanese stuff, and so I took a portfolio that was just Japanese tattoos. And that one he kind of looked through a couple times, and Horitomo was still there, so he brought him over, and they both looked at it, and he kept that one. And I was like, oh man, he finally kept one, you know, and there was a signature plate, which you'll see in a lot of Japanese back pieces, which is like a little rectangle, and I'll have a couple kanjis in there. So that's your name plate. In Japan, the way that stuff works is anything handcrafted, artisan stuff, if it's not signed, it holds no value. The woodblock prints that we're all familiar with in Japanese tattoo, the carvers of those woodblocks got to sign those prints as well. So it all gives it provenance, it gives it a real solid reason of being. And so I had the spot, and Horiyoshi asked me what I was going to put in there, and I was like, I was just going to make fake kanjis that said FTW for my shop, and he was not happy with that. So he said, "You want a name?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So the next day I came in for my appointment, and he sat down and grabbed a brush pen and wrote out my name. I come from like the 80s kind of tattoo thing where there was like a real heavy biker influence. I started tattooing on myself by hand when I was like 12, I think. And yeah, I was tattooing myself and a couple other scumbag kids.
Where were you born and raised?
I was born in El Paso, Texas, but I was out here in California, in Los Angeles, before I could walk. So I pretty much grew up out here. I don't really know much about where I was born. As a kid in the 80s, coming up with punk rock and gangs and all the stuff that was happening, and I was very involved with all of that. Most of my friends were already tattooed. They were older cats. As soon as they saw that I could draw, or that I liked to draw, they were always pushing me to tattoo, more so they could get free tattoos than like they were, supporting my vision or anything. They just wanted more tattoos. They didn't even want good ones. They just wanted lots of them. They pushed me in that direction and supported me in that way. And before there were apprenticeships, you were a helper at a shop. So I got a helpership at Long Beach Tattoo when I was like 16. Which I wasn't even supposed to be in the shop, but nobody was keeping track back then. So that was where I started, and I was working for a guy named Snickers, who has passed away now, but he was a legend at the time. And then Joe Vegas was helping me out at Burt Grimm, so I was at Long Beach Tattoo, learning the tricks of the trade there. Punk rock, gangs, that all led me to this thing at a time when I really was into the fact that it was so subculture. And that, old ladies would pick their dogs up and walk to the other side of the street to get away from the tattoos, But it's been really cool, though, to watch it progress to the point where those same old ladies are now touching you in the grocery store and telling you how their nephew or their grandson is a tattooer and stuff. So it's been interesting. But at the time, it was very niche and very subculture, and that was what attracted me to it, was all that stuff. So
You found yourself gravitating towards Japanese traditional?
No, I actually started doing mostly like Western traditional Americana stuff, eagles, pin-ups, and I spent most of my early career doing that and got pretty well known for that work. And that's actually what got me to Japan, is I would go to Japan and do those tattoos.
You could get a lot of business out there.
Yeah, I ended up going down there at a time when Japan was still kind of an invitation only place. So the only people that had really been down there before were like Ed Hardy and Bob Roberts and Mike Malone and Scott Sterling, like real high, heavy hitters. When I went, it was like a next generation. So I was there with Charlie Roberts, and he's a lineage there. And so he kind of helped guide a lot of us in there. And Permanent Mark was working down there. So he was inviting American tattooers to come down and work there. And so any chance to go to Japan, because like I said, before that, it was like you would be invited by a family, like a tattoo family, if the Horiyoshi family or the Horitoshi family wanted you to come down. But then your experience is really tailored to them, and every experience afterwards as well. But once you're connected to a family, that's who you go to see. When you go to Japan, you get off the plane, you go to wherever. But by being invited by non-Japanese and going and working in a street shop, I was allowed kind of a free pass to visit whoever I want. So for that, I was really fortunate. So my whole experience wasn't just tailored to, this one Hori family or whatever. Like, you can only hang out with these guys. So now I can skip around and visit all these different families and kind of get information from them. But yeah, I started going down there and doing that in the mid-90s. When I met Horiyoshi for the first time, I was at his studio. We were going to have dinner with him, and I was watching him tattoo, and it was just incredible. It was so fast and so just amazing to watch him work. And so I was like, oh yeah, this is the guy I want to get to do my back, And I knew I would never tap out. I would never move. I'll never tap out. I just have too much respect for that guy. All my friends that are amazing tattooers, I'd be like, oh, you know what, let's take a break, man. Like, and they would let me get away with it. But with Horiyoshi, it's like, no, we're here to do this thing. So definitely one of the best experiences of my life, getting tattooed by that guy, for sure.
So you said you started at 12 years old. How did you get your hands on a tattoo machine at that time? I know it was a lot harder to get.
I didn't get a machine in my hand until I was 16.
Okay, so you were sticking,
I was just poking, yeah. And then, I kind of had a whole little thing with going to jail and stuff as a kid. So I met more people that were into tattoos. And then when I was 16, a friend of mine was like, hey, our homie just got out. He's been locked down for a long time, but he's an amazing tattooer. And he's actually, I don't want to stall him out, because he was the first one to put a machine in my hand and really help me out. And so I did a little bit of tattooing like that. And then I was going and getting tattooed in Long Beach. So I just kept hitting those guys up and showing them what I was doing. And they would give me little assignments, and they'd slide me a design and be like, hey man, draw this thing 100 times, and so they were helpful until I got into being an actual helper. And then it was on. It was like a crash course in everything, making needles and dealing with people. Because Long Beach Tattoo is like on Anaheim and the 710, kind of where West Coast Shoppers is. And in the 80s, that was just like gangland, man. And so like the clientele was like gangsters and hookers and pimps and just every kind of scumbag out there. And if you can deal with them with a smile and remain professional, man, you can deal with anybody after that. So that place that birthed my hustle for sure, was working in that shop with those people.